Welcome to the Growing Your Business podcast, a program created to answer the question, what's in it for me, for both the business and their customers. Today's guest had this to say.
Most small businesses don't really have a plan or the capacity for professional development, conflict resolution, negotiation, active listening, coaching and mentoring, things of that nature. Sometimes people don't come with those skills, or there's an area there where that causes some problems. So to really grow, to really get to that next level as a business, I've seen it be really helpful to come on in and to offer these workshops.
Now, stay tuned as we hear more on their values, mission, and why they continue to grow their business. Joining me in the studio today on the Growing Your Business podcast is Noah Dunn with Seize Your Success. Thank you for being here, Noah.
Thank you for having me, buddy. I'm so excited to be talking with you today.
Excellent. Tell me, what is Seize Your Success?
Sure. So it's a coaching and consulting business, and we offer three main service areas: one-on-one coaching with individuals, success skills workshops for businesses, and our newest service offering, which I'm really most excited to talk about, is called Teen Success Labs.
And Success Labs.
And it's helping middle schoolers acquire these, what we call success skills, that we've been working with with businesses and individuals with for a long time. So it's kind of a three-headed monster in that area. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's start with the last one first then. Let's talk about teen success. How did you get started there, and what is the process?
Okay, great. Yeah, I'd love to. So in coaching with individuals and working with some of these businesses and seeing some of the deficits and some of the skills and some of the pain points, right? So many of them are around time management and setting goals and negotiating, largely around communication, right? Understanding your vision for what it is you want, right? And even going into the individual coaching, it's based around what is it you really want, right? How do you define success, and how do you align that with your values and with your strengths, right? And as a parent of a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old, middle schoolers now, and I'm starting to see how they're becoming more independent and there's more asked of them. And there are so many distractions that weren't there when we were kids, right? It's no longer go grab your football and go play and come back at dinner time. It's social media. It's constant screens around them. It's the pressure to thrive and the pressure to succeed academically in sports. And so many kids are sort of managed unlike we were. We're going from activity to activity to activity. And I see this in my own kids, and I'm a softball coach too. So I'm around a lot of other kids and parents, and I see this commonality in that kids are not equipped with these, what we call success skills, as much as they need to be in this age, right? Starting in 5th grade, kids are asked to, for the first time, pick some of their classes they're elected for 6th grade. In 6th grade, they're given more autonomy where they get to pick even a wider range of electives, and they're deeper and they're broader. They're introduced to engineering and broadcasting and journalism, right? And so there's this expectation that they'll take their grades more seriously, and they'll understand how decisions have a cascading effect, right? Your grades in 6th grade matter because they impact how you do in 7th grade and how you do in high school and how you do into college. And that's a lot for a 5th grader and a 6th grader to get their mind around. And so seeing that in my own kids, right? We all like to think our kids are uniquely special and bright and gifted, right? And I believe that about my kids and so many other kids that I've coached in softball and everywhere else. But they, like most skills, all skills, they don't come by these things naturally. They need to be taught, right? And so for the first time, as they're beginning to wonder about possibilities, we like to set the expectation with the space and the structure for them to visualize what it is they might want for their future, right? No one's trying to shoehorn a 6th grader into a permanent career choice, right? But for the first time, visualize what success might look like. What do you think you might be interested in pursuing, right? No, again, not locked in, right? And how do you accomplish that? What does that mean to set a goal, right? And what are the steps to get from A to B to C to D, right? How do you know how much time it's going to take? How do you manage that time? There's going to be stumbling blocks. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be some failures. How do you handle that, right? How do you handle the stress that comes with deadlines? How do you handle all these things, right? And as kids are entering puberty and they're inundated with all kinds of influence, good and bad. Right. How do you? In middle school, I think, is that last opportunity. I think once they've gotten to high school to a large degree, you've sort of lost them in a way. Yep. Middle school is the chance where they're still really malleable and they're so eager to learn and to grow and to become more independent. So it's a perfect opportunity to really help them understand these concepts for the first time.
So I'm a hypothetical client. Let's say I have kids that are your kids' age. How does the process start? Let's say I found you on the website, whatever. So talk to me about what does the first meeting look like?
Sure. So at this stage, our first offerings are a series of workshops in April.
Okay.
Dream big, plan smart, right? And what are focusing on is time management, prioritization, setting goals, visualizing what you want, right? And so it's a 4-hour workshop. It's in person. We believe that there's so much value in working remotely, and you can do so much right these days, and we all do. But it's still hard to replicate exactly what you get on a face-to-face basis. And you have a cohort group, right? You have over 20 other kids with you, and we have instructors that have classroom experience as teachers, as educators, with graduate degrees in design and curriculum. And so we have a project for the day, and it's designing a vision board and thinking about the decisions you want, like for picturing what it is you want. What's your vision for the future? How are you going to articulate it? Presenting it to the group. How do you have the confidence? Let's instill a confidence in you to come out and share your ideas, right? And stand behind your ideas. So we want to help kids gain that confidence to really articulate what they want and to figure out the critical thinking behind this is what I want. How am I going to achieve that?
Is this conducted, you say a classroom style with educators? Is it with the parents present? Is it, like rows of kids that are, like, give me a visual representation of how the day goes.
Sure. It's at a lovely setting in Plano. It's one of the city buildings. It's the Environmental Education Center. It's a really terrific facility, lots of windows. We do ask that the parents drop their kids off, that they don't attend. We want the kids to have kind of the space and the freedom and the autonomy, right? So it's really built for just the group of kids.
That's terrific. And so that's the first interaction is roughly a 4-hour cohort. I mean, they get to know other kids and at their same age.
Yep.
And I guess
all
they're
middle
the same
school.
station in life, right? All middle school. So the outcomes of those are vision boards, plans that then they take home and discuss with their parents. What's next?
So this actual action plan that they can articulate and put into practice with their parents. For the fall, we're going to have a series of workshops to come, and we're still building that out and building the schedule around that. And we do hope to branch into high school kids as well and to create curricula for them. But right now we're focusing on this initial workshop.
Excellent. And you'll be promoting that in
Absolutely,
different ways.
yeah.
So we'll look for that. Let's talk about the other offerings that Seizure Success offers. You had mentioned those first two. Let's walk back to the first.
Yeah, sure. So really what started it all is individual coaching, one-on-one coaching.
Great.
Right? And I was my own first client. I have over 20 years in project management, learning and development, e-learning, supporting the federal government, supporting Fortune 500 companies. And I reached a point where I really lost that love and feeling for what I was doing, right? And again, I mentioned with a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old, retirement is nowhere in the future, not that I even want it to be. So there was this question of what is it that I want? What's next? What's my next evolution going to be? I thought that I had kind of done all I could or all I wanted to do in terms of project management. And one thing I always loved, especially leading teams, helping direct reports, helping colleagues develop, professional development. I've always enjoyed that. So I thought coaching was really a natural fit. So while I was still leading e-learning projects and leading teams, I was also going to school for coaching on the side.
Terrific.
And getting credentialed by the International Coaching Federation as a coach. And so I began to take less roles that were around leading learning development and building e-learning and that type of stuff, and gravitating eventually over to being full-time coach. And with that, working with clients who really, I think the clients that are that I resonate the most with are clients that have that same similarity. They've had a level of success. They're maybe in their late 30s to say mid 50s, and they've done it for a while. They're good at it, and it just doesn't have that same satisfaction. So in this sort of transition stage, they feel stagnant. They feel stuck. Some of them know right where they want to go next. Some folks have absolutely no idea where they want to be, but it ain't here. Right. And so I think that my ability to really understand that feeling, having personally experienced, has resonated with that group of folks the most. And in working with a lot of these folks and with these clients, and in my experience in the corporate world, I'm seeing this deficit, and I saw this deficit with these 12 success skills. So that led to the idea and the thought that in addition to the one-on-one coaching, I can really see the value and the marketability of offering these workshops to teams and to small to medium-sized businesses, right? So you think of a small business that's having success, and it's at a growth stage, right? But most small businesses don't really have a plan or the capacity for professional development. They have the folks that have the skills to complete the various jobs that make them successful, bring them revenue, allow them to grow. But things like conflict resolution, negotiation, active listening, coaching and mentoring, things of that nature, sometimes people don't come with those skills, or there's an area there where that causes some problems. So to really grow, to really get to that next level as a business, I've seen it be really helpful to come on in and to offer these workshops, usually one in a month. And I've seen the growth. My best example is a small boutique e-learning company, right? Because that was my world. So I had some ins there, so to speak, right? And this company was based in the UK, but they had a small US presence, wanted to expand it. And there was very much an us versus them alignment. The learning designers and the project managers in the UK, although they were on the same projects with some of the US PMs and that type of stuff, it was sort of in shifts. There's like a night shift and a day shift, right? Because of the time difference. But it was very much us versus them. And it was that classic, matrixed environment where you have a team, but they don't belong to you. They're also on 7 other projects, and they have 7 other priorities in
their time.
So you may not always get the folks you want, and the folks you want may not always be available. So there's some horse trading going on, right? And so there's a need to be diplomatic and to be able to negotiate and to be able to have a plan A or B or C and that type of thing. And so going in there and working with the project managers and the learning designers and having these workshops with them as a group, especially the active listening, I was really interesting to see folks listen to each other for the first time and see how that pays off, right?
Yeah.
Not waiting for the other person to stop speaking so it's your turn to speak, but really listening to what they're seeing and understanding how that made the team and the company more successful. And so project managers did begin to see a rise in their profit margin on a project by project basis, and that was the goal.
Yeah,
that was why I was hired. So that made senior leadership in that company extremely happy. So I think that shows some of the benefits over time to that type of training.
It's interesting to hear your progression from having performed in an area. Really, you needed all those skills you listed in order to, you mentioned the horse trading. I mean, you're constantly being inundated with new personality types, same performance, same job, same work needs to be done, different person.
Right.
And what I'm hearing, especially with the group coaching and having benefited from a little bit of that myself, and not only do you get to, it's like a safe place to learn about other people, how they work in a cohort, if you will, like say there's 12 people, but you're also learning what their needs are, some overlap, some differences, but you're also making new connections, in those types of groups. It's basically guided connecting,
right?
While you're learning something. So there's really great value in having the group, the one-on-one, obviously, because we know what we know, and a lot of it is, that you don't know a lot, but you have someone to bounce that off of. It's not just, Noah's looking in the mirror or Buddy's looking in the mirror and say, Buddy, I know I need this stuff, but am I going to make time to do it? It's like convincing yourself. Well, now with a one-on-one coach, you have another person backing you up, trying to convince yourself. It's kind of a weird mind game we all play as business owners and leaders, and even just project leaders, that you have to constantly retool yourself to get better. So you mentioned your progression. Let's go back to your career, because now you've got this several different things that you're helping other people with. Let's go further back and what was, we'll go back to the kids, right? When you were in middle school, there's something that guided you to be where you are now. What was your thought back then? Did you have some guidance in that area?
Well, when I was the same age as my kids, when I was 12 years old, I was certain I was going to be the right fielder for the New York Yankees.
Okay, yeah, fair. So I thought I was going to be in the next Indiana Jones.
So things change, right? And, we constantly evolve as grown-ups and as professionals, right? I had a career in journalism. I had a career in psychology, right, before I got into project management and learning and development and training and facilitation, But it's interesting. But as we talk about that, I've applied everything I've learned from these various roles to the development of my own workshops, the success I've had in roles, working for companies or working for myself, right? And even in thinking as my start as a sports reporter when I was 18 years old covering high school sports, you're asking a 15-year-old who just scored the winning touchdown to articulate how he felt, and he's not used to being interviewed. You talk to the losing coach who just lost a big game, and he's not so happy to talk to you. You know, you're working in mental health with folks who are severely mentally ill adults, and it's your job to figure out, to communicate with them and figure out what's going on and to help them with the treatment they receive. And so you can carry those skills forward, and they build on each other, and they help you get into, when you get into new areas, right? Like whether it's project management, it's leading teams, right? You understand that it's your job as a communicator to figure out what's driving the other person, what's the other person saying, right? And so even before emotional intelligence was sort of a hot jargon, hot button area that it is today, right? That was 20 years ago. That was still as important, but we just didn't know. We just didn't have that name for that. So I think being able to really relate to people at all levels, to be what I consider myself to be an adept, excellent communicator, to be a great listener. I think one of the reasons that really pushed me to that decision point of being a coach is having so many people over the years say, God, you're a great listener. You're really a great listener, right? And your patience is outstanding, and just having that love of helping people develop and get to that point where they feel that they're successful, right? And success is so deeply personal, right? It's means something to everyone, and it's fluid, I believe, right? You ask me what success, you ask me to identify success at 32, it's going to be a markedly different answer than now in my 50s.
There's something I'd heard a while back is regarding active listening. Is to be interesting, be interested. Right. You know, people, we love to talk about ourselves, but above all, we like to be heard. You know, and if someone can bring us into their own conversation, is here's what I've heard about you, because then we're on the level, if you will, as we understand each other.
Stay with us. The Growing Your Business podcast will return right after this. The Growing Your Business podcast is sponsored in part by Visual Learning Solutions. Stands out with its expertise in crafting immersive audio and video experiences. Their creative team has over 30 years of experience delivering dynamic internal training programs tailored to various industries. They ensure the audience receives a compelling message, promotes brand awareness, and increases return on investment. They also excel in producing marketing content. Learn more at their website, visuallearningsolutions.com. Please check our show notes for sponsorship links and additional details. Now, back to the Growing Your Business podcast with Buddy Broyles.
I wanted to ask you about a success story. I mean, in your career, you've helped a lot of people, but for seizure success, one-on-one group coaching, tell me about transforming someone. You had probably someone come to me, like someone like me, that I know I don't. There are things I know and things I don't. Yeah. I need help. Talk to me about someone that you've helped and where they are now.
Sure.
And you don't have to necessarily mention names, but like their career and so on. You may have somebody.
Yeah. And so I have a fairly large number of people who fall into this bucket, is folks who have really been suffering from self-limiting beliefs, right? We've all heard of imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
Fear of failure, fear of success, just this lack of confidence, this self-doubt, this I don't think I can do this. And these are people with really sparkling CVs and robust careers, and they're in senior level positions, a lot of them. And there's still at times this feeling that this hesitance to speak in a group setting, because they feel like their words are not going to carry weight and they're going to be judged. And this feeling of, I can't go for that promotion because I'm just not going to get it because I haven't built up the reputation I need. So I think there is one woman who is in mental health, who's a mental health counselor, and she'd been working for a large clinic for a number of years, and she just didn't feel like she had either the cachet, and really she identified it as this imposter syndrome, where she just felt like, although she had the skills in bucket loads to perform this higher position and to lead people, she just didn't feel that she had the reputation to carry it off, and she didn't have the belief in herself. And so we really focused on the idea of perception as a choice, right? And how you see things, there can be an element of choice to it. And right with coaching, there's always the distinction between coaching, mentoring, consulting, right? And so consulting, you're hiring me and I'm coming in and here are the answers and this is how you will improve your bottom line. And mentoring is a little bit straddling the line. But coaching is not about telling, it's about if the problem is internal to the client, the solution is internal to the client, right? So you're helping folks figure out their own routes, their own areas where they can make this improvement. So it's about that listening. Sometimes it's about being silent, and sometimes it's just about being a sounding board, right? And so for this woman, I think having someone who is totally focused on her for an hour every 2 weeks and having that non-judgmental sounding board and being able to come to her own realization that, my resume stacks up with anybody in this field. I've done this for a long time. And her own strategies, right? Talking about sort of self-affirmations and guided meditation and other strategies that she came up with to really defeat these self-limiting beliefs and to go for that position and to get it and to thrive. And so it's really giving people the space to come up with these solutions. There's an interesting study where the percentage is almost exponentially larger. If you tell someone, it could be the best advice in the world, if you do this, you'll be successful. But if you are working with them and if it comes through their own brain, it comes to them, I can't remember the percentage, but it's exponentially, they're more likely to follow through on that self-advice and to make that leap and that progress.
Yeah, if they speak it themselves and believe it, it'll come true.
Absolutely.
And the opposite's true as well.
Yep.
They withhold. What is the typical engagement of, I'd say let's walk through the three.
Yeah.
So one-on-one, what's a typical engagement?
Yeah, so I think one of the benefits of the one-on-one coaching is this is a 5-session engagement.
Gotcha.
Right? And I recommend a cadence of every 2 weeks, but sometimes we meet with folks every week. And I think the benefit of that, this is not a never-ending engagement. There's a line, there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's a short tunnel, right? And so we meet and we talk about, we do, have a session about, we talk about, do some discovery and get to know each other. And then we start to define right away, the person defines their success, right? What does success mean to you?
Yeah.
Right? And then we move on, this alignment of, I call it the big three, this alignment of your definition of success, your lived values, those core values, and your unique natural strengths.
Those are
right?
great. Yeah.
And so we get through the third session, we've done your definition of success, we've looked into your values, done a deep dive into your values and how that corresponds to what you'll be successful at, what you'll be happy doing, what you'll be able to achieve, and then your strengths, right? And we come out of that with kind of a glide path to this action plan, right? And I call it a success playbook, right?
Okay,
So we have this success playbook, right? And so then we take a little bit of a longer break between sessions between the fourth and the fifth, and the person gets the opportunity to spread their wings and to put this success plan in action, the success playbook in action. So we come back and we debrief and we look at what's worked. We look at what might need some tweaking, and we go from there. And sometimes that's the end of the engagement, and equally sometimes that's just the start for us, and we continue to work together over many months. And so for the workshops, I offer a 6 and a 12-month engagement, right?
Okay.
So you can pick the 6 most salient workshops that you feel like your team, your organization would benefit from, or perhaps you might recognize that all 12, right? And I'm willing to customize and to do a little bit of a la carte, right? Whatever is in the benefit of the client, right? And so like we've talked about, right now so much focus is on launching this initiative for kids, right? And
terrific.
So
and I can see just the way you've talked about it. It's so exciting. What you can do for them. And is it your first one starting in April?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
So as the time of this recording, it's January of 25.
Right.
But you may hear this a year from now and know that they've been going for a while now. Yeah.
Right. This is just the first step of many, for sure. April 5th, April 18th. We're very excited. It just has so much promise, I feel like, and it's an opportunity to kind of give back and to help that next generation realize some of the success that I've been fortunate enough to have and my team has had, and just really helping them grow into be the kind of leaders and the professional and success stories that we're going to want as we age out of the workforce and we have folks around us that are filling all these key roles. It would almost be a comfort to imagine that, the cohort we teach these skills to today might have a ripple effect, and who knows how many people they'll impact.
Right, and future generations even. So that's great. Best way to reach you, the website? Or?
Yeah, website, seizeyoursuccess.net. I'm on LinkedIn as well, my personal page. We have a business page, Facebook as well. So whatever way works, we send out some smoke signals, we'll decode them and we'll come running. So whatever works for folks, we're always happy to engage, happy to offer a free consultation, whether it be for the one-on-one coaching or the success skills workshops. I would love to sit down and have a conversation and see if we're a mutual fit.
Terrific. And all of that, of course, is always in the show notes. So Noah's provided all of that to me, and that just scroll down on any, be it YouTube or whatever, Apple, just scroll down and the information's there. Click through and find Noah and Seize Your Success. Noah, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your success and hopefully future successes.
Thank you for having me, buddy. I've had a great time. I appreciate it, really.
Thank you for joining us today on the Growing Your Business podcast. Please see the show notes for links to our sponsors, our social media, and to learn more about today's guest.